Good afternoon. So I lost my voice a little bit because of too much shouting, and I should probably not speak for a while, but I will try to speak. Actually, I have a few interesting things that I want to say, so I'll try to do it. And if I see that, I just lose my voice, I will stop and maybe continue another day. I also stop the music, so I'll be able to speak, and so it will be half an hour or maybe even an hour for you to rest from this music. And also, I hope that you will, use your additional energy for not for conversation, God forbid, but for movement of arms and legs, because this will not end without movement of arms and legs. And if you will continue the conversation with the Israelis, this is, I said it many times, any war that is conversed with the Israelis or with each other at current situation is just another step towards the apocalypse. But there are two things that I need to speak about, even though, they will not be new. Probably almost none of it will be new. Almost none, or maybe just a very, very, maybe minute details, but everything that I've said now I've spoken about in the past. But I understand that people, many didn't listen and many didn't have access, and maybe some have now access that they didn't have before, but it takes them time to actually listen to everything, because there's so much every day. There's so much videos, so many videos with so much, there are thousands, maybe for more than 1,000, I don't know, that just in the YouTube channel from the last half a year, with many, issues like in politics and biology and alien biology and so much stuff and history. And this is also, and all of this is actually just, one part of everything that I have, because I already, before that, I've used the Twitter account for some time. There was a ton of movies there. Only then it was mostly in Hebrew, not English, so maybe it's even harder for you to actually get the material, whoever you are. And before that, Facebook, and before that, a lot of things in my private Evernote account, and I don't know if you have access to it. So the last 4 years, I constantly, spoke in whatever media that I could. So, and maybe you didn't know, whoever you are didn't know about it, and just now you discover all that, and I understand that it's going to take you a very, very long, some time to understand what's going on. But it's not necessary. What you need to know now is the following: you have to run to Israel to rescue me and my daughters from the Nazi prison, and every hour that you don't do it is an hour towards the that you get. It's one step towards the apocalypse, which is imminent. But there's two things that I need to speak very but there's things that are important. At least now, and I would say not incredibly important. So they shouldn't stop anyone from running to Israel or doing everything that they need to rescue us. It's not something like that world shattering. And if you follow me for a while, nothing actually will be new to you. So it's not terribly important. It's just that I understand that there are new people that are new to the situation, and these are actually things that you probably should know. And so one thing is what's the purpose? What causes this terrible music that some of people in this world actually hear, this horrible music, and not only music, perhaps also also talk of visual cues, but mainly music, terrible music. So a huge torture. What causes this thing? What is the cause of this thing? What happens now? Are we subjected to an alien attack, or TLDR depends on the definition of alien. It's everything that takes place right now. Is due to the actions of people that lived in Earth for quite a bit of time, decades. I don't know if they are aliens or not. I do not consider myself alien, even though I'm certainly not Homo sapiens, as is evidenced by, so many biological videos in this channel that this is not the blood or semen or whatever of Homo sapiens. This is beyond any doubt. But I do not consider myself alien in the strict sense. I consider myself, and I was born here, and I consider this place my own, more than any and not less than anyone else. So the question of alien is, and it's not a new thing. It's not like E.T. Spielberg's E.T. situation. Not at all. Because there is a huge history behind the multiple, the fact that there are multiple, cognitive or consciousness consciousness species that that are living on Earth, both like in ancient times and also like in the 20th century and up until now more than ever. So the questions of alien is kind of like, it's a matter of interpretation. Everything takes place because of actions that are done by people on Earth, and most of them live here for a long time now. Even though not all of them are Homo sapienses, but mostly are. So I will explain this nature of these attacks. I should also say that, yes, besides this music, you are also under attack of alien civilization that is called the Cherubs, but this is not manifested with the music, this is manifested with the asteroids that are on the way to annihilate the Earth. The asteroids, as you see here, asteroids. These are the works of another civilization that are called I call them the Cherubs. I am one of them, and they had enough of you. They know you for a long time. They are not new in this place at all. Like, they know you for a long time. In order you knew you knew them like for a long time. It's not like a new issue, and they had enough. They had enough of these disgusting creatures, and they are throwing asteroids at you because they had enough. So this aspect of the situation is, yes, you can certainly interpret it as alien attack, but the music is a little bit different, and I will explain in a minute. And another question that someone might ask is, who the hell are you? Who are you? We don't understand. What's your origin story? So I should say that actually this, right from the beginning, most of my life I lived like as a human being, like Homo sapiens, and no one told me otherwise. Even though I was surrounded by people of the intelligence community, no one told me anything. And only 4 years ago I started to understand that things are not what they seem, and me by myself, and with the help of God, I started to discover things. And see, no one is directly tells me anything. And it's not, I cannot reiterate everything that happened to me and I discovered during the last 4 years. It was documented, as I said in the beginning of this video. This was heavily documented in many stages, like thousands of hours, like writings and speaking and videos. But throughout all this time, I understood that the origin story is actually not incredibly important, and people that actually try too much to speak to you about your origin or to dictate to you what they think is your origin are only doing it because they want you to be their slave. Like, there is no other purpose for any origin story than telling you should be our slave. Because why else would they try to tell you? First of all, it's very invasive to tell you your memories are not yours. Of course they are mine. Or what you think that is your father and mother are not yours. Of course they are mine. Who are you to tell me otherwise? But all of this, you were born here and not there, which is not true, and because I know exactly where I was born, and you are actually that kind and not that kind. Who are you to tell me what kind I am? Like, all of this kind of this course is only takes place as part of the effort of the people of Israel to make me their slave. So I understood that I shouldn't even listen to it and shouldn't think about it, and that with time God will actually show me my true origin. And I understood that it will not invalidate my memories, that my memories are correct, that my past is correct, but that everything that I remember is correct. I was born, where and I was raised, and by the people that I knew these people. I had memories for, it's not like that something was implanted, these memories on me, and not only in the shallow level, but in the deep level. Even though there was a lot of secrecy around that, it wasn't a show, both for the good and for the bad. I didn't have a completely happy childhood, not at all, but not a miserable one. Because the torture of the state only started relatively later in my life, when I was about 20, and tremendously increased after the birth of my children, almost 8 years ago, my first one, and almost 7 years ago, the second one. So I understood that I will learn my origin story, but that I understood that it will not invalidate the story that I know, that it will be like another layer to the story. And I also understood that the people that of Israel, I mean, they both know that I'm special, but at the same time, they do everything they can to abuse it and to deny it, which of course is a paradox. But I mean, that's the way they are. I mean, they're all like they're I mean, the way of life is paradoxical. Like they think, okay, this is the Son of God, let's kill him. We hate God, but at the same time, they try to treat you as a slave. But if he's if he's the low life that, I mean, you tell other people that he is, I mean, why are you, I mean, allocating so many resources throughout so many years, like, I mean, to create such a huge show around him, like a huge painting, like, I mean, in intelligent sense, like in dirty sense, like a painting project around him, like a huge, I mean, spend so many people, like, so, I mean, and so many, like, so much money. Why do you do it if he's just a little, like, scumbag low life, and you have tons of these low lives? So why doesn't it even matter? I mean, why should you create all these charades, I mean, for one little scumbag? And if he's not a little scumbag, if he's really the Son of God, so, I mean, wouldn't God be angry? Like, I mean, when you try to, when you, like, act, I mean, when you torture his son and use him as your slave? This paradox has no answer, because it's a paradox. So I will discuss my origin story in a little bit more elaborate, even though it would actually not be new, because some of this information was actually many of it, almost more of it I've mentioned in the past, but maybe not like in one continuous way. I should say that one of the main, like, problems for my perspective to, I mean, is that on the one hand, I understood that something happened when I was around 20 years old, maybe 17, maybe 19. Something happened that dramatically changed the way that people, the Israeli, treat me. Like, they discovered something that they didn't know about my nature. And this was amplified tremendously about, like, 12 years later, when my first child, Orin, was born. It was another, like, I mean, kind of like a huge discovery inside of the intelligence community. And again, it further tremendously increases the torture that I'm subjected to. So but I also understood that before the age of 20, like, since I was born, I was, even though I wasn't, like, a main objective of the intelligence community, and I mean, I thank God for it, because if I was, I mean, they would have tortured me, like, I mean, they have no mercy. They torture children from, like, where they torture children 2 years old in their bed, like, they have no mercy. But I understood that I was born to a family that was, I mean, one of, like I would say, a group of families, I would say, in Israel, that it's difficult to actually, like, to define it, because they don't have, like, a very clear definition, but they are all heavily related to the intelligence community, which in itself is not very rare, because tons of people are related to the intelligence community in Israel. So it's one of those families. But more than that they, I mean, inside this group, they belong to, I would say, a subgroup that is suspicious. Like, I mean, that is like that there is something, like, I mean, inherently negative inside this subgroup. Like, not in a way that, I mean, they completely, like, I mean, kill them, like, or murder them. Probably because they cannot. And I'll soon explain why. But I understood that, I mean, that we are not typical. And I understood that all the people that I know around me, like, from my family, like, I mean, are not typical at all. I mean, when I was a child and maybe early teenager, I thought that these people actually, I mean, they represent, like, the people that, I mean, are part of the intelligence services of Israel and also the defense sector. Like, I saw that, I mean, the people of the Shabak and the Mossad, like the family of the Shabak and the Mossad, and the people of the Shabak and the Mossad, and the people of, like, the officers, like higher officers, like in the IDF, they might be, like, similar to my own family. This is complete bullshit. Like, I mean, when I was, like, probably already at high school, and certainly later in my life, I understood that this is complete bullshit. That, I mean, there is nothing in this world that is even remotely similar between my family and the typical family of the intelligence sector and the defense sector in Israel, of the higher ups. That this is like they came from different planets, like different galaxies even. That we are not like them at all, and that the initial conception, the Chinese conception, is that we are like them was, I mean, just because that I didn't know any one of those people. So I understood, yes, this my family is connected to the intelligence and security sector, which is correct from both sides, like mother and father, which is correct. But it's completely incorrect that, in any way they are similar to what you can find like in this sector, because most of them are like 99% of them are like Conan the Barbarians. They have nothing but muscles. They have no brain at all, no education at all. They are Conan the Barbarians. That's what they are. They are scumbags and disgusting human being. Just, the bottom of the barrel. The lowest of the lowest creatures that you can possibly imagine. And like maybe already at high school, but certainly later, after my military service, I understood that no, this family is not typical at all, not even remotely typical. I understood, that both my mother and my father, and also like their parents, were and still are very immaterial people. Like of course, they want money, and they work to get money, but money was, a secondary, like kind of like throughout their life, money was not, like a major, objective. It's one of the things that they pursued. Like yes, they wanted more money, and throughout their life, they received more money and become like a little bit more I wouldn't say wealthier, but a little bit more well off. In a small scale, but it's just one of the things. Like it's for them. It's just one of the things that people should pursue in their life, and that's the way that they actually educated my children, me included. And usually the people of the other, like the typical people of the intelligence community, money is the only purpose in their life. There is nothing else that they pursue, nothing at all. To the extent that even now I cannot understand it. Like many times I'm having mistakes in understanding, like why they act the thing they act, because up to that date where I'm almost 40 now, I still sometimes have errors in my analysis of the situation, because I do not properly identify the motives of the people, because I do not give enough weight to their greed, because it's so alien to me. The greed is everything. It's everything. Money is everything to them. So no, we are not like them at all, and we are. And of course, my family, they are all very educated, and they are far from perfect. Don't get me wrong. And I told, I said many bad things about my father and my mother and my family throughout these years of blogging and writing. So whoever you feel that actually listens, that I do not paint like them in a golden way at all. At all. There were many things that I've said that are bad. Many negative things that I've said about them, so whoever listens to me know that it's not a case of someone that glorifies his own family. To the contrary. But they are not typical. Nothing about them even remotely resembles the typical families of the intelligence community and the higher ups in the defense sector. They are very educated, and no one can take that from them. They are very intelligent, and they value education. My own family, and as I said, that the typical female family of the intelligence community, and they are Conan the Barbarians. They barely know how to read and write, barely know how to read and write. That's the reality. So these issues actually made me. I understood these things long ago. It wasn't part of my discovery journey. My discovery journey only started 4 years ago, when I was 35, almost 36, now almost 40. And all of this stuff was known to me. But it created a problem for me to understand the history of the family, because from one hand I understood that there was something special about this family within the intelligence community, and special probably for the bad way. They are not like the others, and that they are a negative group. And from early on in this discovery journey, from the beginning of from 2019 or maybe 2020, I had an hypothesis that this relates in a way to a betrayal, some kind of a betrayal. And I spoke quite a bit about this hypothetical betrayal in this, in the couple 3 years, here and there. But I understood that probably there is, like a viable solution is that, I mean, something that I mean, they belong to like to the group of like this group of like the people that, I mean, belong to the Danish community, and they were integral, I mean, both sides, my mother and my father, and there was some kind of betrayal, and I didn't know who was the one that actually supposedly did the betrayal, but perhaps it wasn't just one of them. And I understood that, I mean, they were all like punished like severely, like I mean with the maximum cruelty, because we live in hell, including their children and their grandchildren. But I also understood that this betrayal had international implications, so they are somewhat guarded by international like agents, including Russians and Americans, somewhat. But of course, this kind of help. I mean, it's yes, we stayed alive, but I mean, it didn't stop like the torture, and I mean, and the torture only like increased throughout the years. And I understood that all of this is probably true, and this is not related to what they discovered about me when I was 20, and again discovered when I was 32 and my first child was born. So these are kind of like two stories, and I did not understand how to reconcile between those two stories. So, something weird happened here. And of course, there is only one solution to this conundrum. I mean, I thought about it so much during the last couple of years, and there is only one solution. The solution is that Etzba Elohim. There is no other solution. These are seemingly disrelated stories. One story is the story of the family, which was part of like integral part of like the intelligence elite of this state, and they were presumably one of them, or maybe several, were charged with betrayal, and since then they couldn't leave Israel, and they couldn't like, and in a way they stayed part of the intelligence community up to this day, all of them. But now they are part of like, I mean, the lepers, like in like the subgroup of in this group that is like the negative one, which is always like suspected and hated. But at the same time, they are somewhat protected by Russians and American agents, because these have international implications. This is one story, and this story began way before I was born, and continued. And there is another story which is presumably completely not related, which is the fact that while I was 20, or perhaps a little before that, the Israeli establishment understood that there is something extremely peculiar with my nature, something that they cannot explain. The only explanation is what which is manifestly the true one, but they didn't want to admit it, which is that I am a representative of another civilization, of another species. I am one of the Cherubs, a new species that you do not. It's not new, because we sent a representative for many thousands of years, but the Israelis did not want to acknowledge this fact, even though the simplest blood sample can actually, verify this fact without the doubt that I'm not a Homo sapiens, I'm not Venusian, which is the other alien life form that they know. I'm not Homo sapiens and I'm not Venusian. This is incredibly easy to verify. And they understood it when I was about 20, but they did not want to accept it. And until they don't want to accept it. They keep denying it, even though it's. And there are a million other ways that you can actually prove it besides like taking by blood sample, and I've spoken about it quite a bit. So and when I was 32, I actually had a daughter that was born out of me, like in a biological way, which is something that they didn't expect that is possible at all. And this was, added another layer, both like to the mystery and also to my subjugation and to my abuse. But these two issues, the fact that I'm a representative of a third species and the fact that I can procreate on Earth, in a way they they contribute tremendously, to the interest of the Israelis in me, like to put me like as a target and to subjugate me, but they are not directly linked to the other story. This was the end of God. This was the end of God. And there is no other explanation for that. Now, the two stories were linked in many people's minds, perhaps also lamentably in the heads of my own family, like my own mother and father, in a way that the Israeli officials tried to actually create a story that will reconcile these two, like, stories that, seemingly are not related at all, but what's the probability? There is kind of like, if you don't believe like in the hand of God, like, you should. So what happened here? And of course they want to minimize, like, they don't like to speak about God. So they created all sorts of like kind of like bridge stories that will kind of bridge these two stories. And those bridges, those like reconciliation stories between like the family background and the fact that that my nature cannot be explained. All of these stories are remarkably stupid and can easily be disproved. Only people wants to look at reality and look at the facts. But no one really cares about the fact, not in Israel, not outside of Israel. They only care about their agenda, their interest. Truth is for humans, the opinion of the strongest actor. That's the fact. Truth is the opinion of the strongest actor. So yes, the Israelis tried to use the fact that first I belong to such family, and second that my nature is so different. They try to reconcile this fact or to explain this seemingly both very peculiar and fact that come together in a way that portrays me in a as in a very bad way. Of course, to their own advantage. They try to create some kind of a bridge story which will portray me in the worst, disgusting way, which doesn't make any sense for many reasons and for everyone that just want to open their eyes. But in reality, those two stories, and this is confusing, and I admit, the fact that these are two stories that relate to different times, like different areas of in history, this fact confused me a lot, and until I just came to understand that I should accept the fact that God, that there is the hand of God in our world, and that there is providence, ashgacha pratit, they say in Hebrew, or providence in English, which there is like a owner to this world, a manager and an owner to this world, the CEO of this world, and with his finger, and the moral, by the way, the moral implication, the ethical implication of this coincidence is not terrifically difficult to understand if you just open your eyes, of course. TLDR, the betrayal was related to whistleblowing, being whistleblowers to other nations regarding the cruelties that the Israelis are doing to the Venusians, the second sentient species that are known to humans, and these cruelties are a tenet of the Israeli state for many years and until now, and that's why the Israelis were incredibly hateful and violent towards this family, but at the same time, you say they don't, when I say but they do but at the same time, I'm still having the horns because I shut the music for a while, so they have energy. But soon we'll continue with the music, but with far more power. We'll add more satellites to our tech, and we will probably hear less of this honking in the street, I assure you. But we will, as I said, at the same time, in the end, the importance of this information contributed to the fact that the family will somewhat be protected by Russian and American agents that were always abundant in this country. This country was always abundant, like with spies and agents. I mean, they're everywhere because I mean it's kind of an immigrant state and it's a trash can anyway. And people all over the world send like all the pedophiles and like homosexuals here. This was done like since '48. So this is a trash can for like foreign cells and homosexuals that I mean are used as spies and like from all over the world. So they were somewhat protected, but of course only somewhat. And of course, God, I mean, does not like genocide. So he created me, the cherub, as a son of this family. The moral implications are not incredibly difficult to comprehend if you just want to open your eyes. But these are two different stories, and again, it's a little bit it's a little bit confusing because these are two stories. So this is a long video, so I will finish now, and soon I will continue with the two issues. I will elaborate on the two issues. First, what is the cause of this heavenly music that you hear? What creates it? As I said, this comes from things that happen in Earth, and also. And the other one is, I mean, the origin story. Like, I mean, the story of my family and how how the Israelis tried to picture it, like to create bridge between this story and my own existence in a very illogical and irrational way. And I mean, what's the truth behind, like, I mean, this, like, presumably, I mean, series of coincidences.